Chapter 7, Exponential and Logarithmic Functions. Please pause the video and write this template in your notes. Then press play and we'll go from there. 7.1 has us graphing both exponential growth and decay functions. The definition of any exponential function is a function where x is the exponent. Now we're going to have parent functions and transformations. The parent function for an exponential growth or decay model is y equals a times b to the x power. A is going to be a coefficient. Notice it's not in parentheses with b. B is your base. And for an exponential function to exist, b has to be greater than 0. And then x is your exponent. Looking at domain and range of your function, comparing inputs to outputs, the domain is going to be your input variable, and usually it's going to be x. Now, since x is an exponent, we can have positive numbers, we could even have 0, and negative numbers. That means for your domain, x can be anything it wants. It can go from negative infinity to positive infinity. The range is going to be your output values, and it could be y or it could be f of x. That's going to be different. Thinking about your exponent rules, whether x is positive, negative, or 0, your output values are always going to be greater than 0. So for your range values, they should be 0 or above. And this is all just based off the parent function. As we do transformations on that equation, your range value might change. To think about growth and decay, we're going to focus on the value for b. If you have a growth exponential function, your value for b is going to be greater than 1. So that means over time, the value increases. To have a decay function, that means the value of b is between 0 and 1. And that means over time, your value decreases. The last thing I want to focus on before we start sketching our graphs is something called an asymptote. A-S-Y-M-P-T-O-T-E. It's really a word. Asymptote is a line that a function approaches but never crosses. And we're going to use a dashed line to represent this. As we graph transformations of the exponential function, notice we have an a value, an h value, and a k value. Similar to absolute value, quadratics, and even last chapter with radical functions, these values will make your graph shift left or right, up or down, maybe reflect over the x-axis, stretch or compress. So let's take a quick look at how these values will change the shape of your graph. First, let's start with our a value. That coefficient out in front can either stretch or compress your graph, or it might reflect over the x-axis if it's negative. Now notice your exponent is going to be impacted by either x minus h or x plus h. Now if it's x minus, it's going to shift the graph to the right. If it's plus, it'll shift the graph to the left. And this is going to impact our table for graphing. We'll take a look at that with some examples down below. Last but not least, that k value will shift our graph up or down, just like it's done in the past. But this will impact our asymptote line, that dotted line that I said the graph doesn't cross over. So this will impact that line. All right, let's take a look at some examples for graphing down below. For each exponential function, state the domain and range. Then make a table of values and sketch the graph. If you don't have a calculator handy, I encourage you to grab a calculator now and get ready for our first example. Question 1. Y equals 2 to the x power. Question 1. Y equals 2 to the x power. As we think about what this could look like in true exponential form, notice there isn't a number out in front, so this would be the same as y equals 1 times 2 to the x power. To write the domain and range, remember the domain, whoops, here we go. Sorry, I don't know what just happened there. For the domain, we can plug in anything we want for x. That means we can go from negative infinity to positive infinity. And we'll have arrows on both the left side and the right side. For the range, remember with that typo up above, we just want to be clear on this. For the range, our values for y have to be greater than 0, but then go up towards positive infinity. And with our table that we create, I'll show you how that works. Thinking about how inputs compare to outputs, I'm just going to rewrite my equation over here since I needed to be a little bit closer to my graph. Now remember, x can be anything at once, but I like to start with this template of input values. -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. I do this because these are all numbers that are close to the y-axis, and that's where the biggest impact is going to be on our exponential functions. Now this first graph wouldn't necessarily need a calculator. Here's why. If I plug in -2 for x, that's going to be 2 to the -2 power. Using properties of exponents, that means it's 1 over 2 squared, and 2 squared is 4, that means 1/4. Whoa, 1/4, not 1/2. Fix that, there we go. So if I go 2 to the left, I'm only up approximately 1/4. It's pretty low on the graph. 2 to the -1, that next ordered pair, becomes 1 over 2 to the +1, or 1/2. So it's getting a little bit higher. 2 to the 0, well remember anything to the 0 equals 1. So 0 up 1, there's our y-intercept. 2 to the first power is 2. So I'm going to go 1 up 2. We're really starting to see that curve happen. And then 2 squared is equal to 4. So 2 to the right, up 4. So we have that curved or that non-linear graph. Keep in mind that our asymptote line has to be where the line never crosses. And since we said that there's nothing added after the exponential term, the asymptote line is y equals 0. And we represent that on our graph with a dashed boundary line. So I'm just going to draw that in like so, and we're not going to cross below that line as we sketch our curve. From left to right, we get infinitely close to that line. I'm going to follow it right along the left-hand side of my graph, and then as I kind of curve over to the right, and then the graph goes really, really big fast, like so. And there's our first exponential growth function. Our second example, question 2, f of x equals -2 to the x power. Now, the only major change here is that our lead coefficient is now negative instead of positive. So as we think about this, one thing to recognize is that the base does not equal -2. I know it looks like it does right now, but that negative is technically associated with the a value. It's important to note that, and I'll rewrite my function just to verify -1 times 2 to the x power. Now, because of this, two things are going to happen. Our domain will stay the same, which is fine. X still can be anything at once. But that a value that's negative is going to reflect our graph upside down. And for our range, the first thing to note is that it's f of x, not y. The second thing, because it is -1 instead of +1 for our a value, that means the graph is going to go from -infinity up to that boundary of 0. So notice how I'm writing the range for this option. If it's upside down, the output values kind of flip-flop. Okay, so let's use that information and make our table. I've rewritten my equation, f of x equals -1 times 2 to the x power, and started off with my template of values. And we use these values as long as there's no transformation right or left. So these will be the same input values that we did for the first example. As you plug these in, remember that -1 is always going to impact your output answers. So if we do -1 times 2 to the -2 power, well, from our first example, 2 to the -2 power was 1/4, but that -1 is just going to make it -1/4. Over here on my graph, if I go 2 to the left, I'm going to go down -1/4 instead of up. I'm trying to make that dot a little bigger. And then when I plug in -1 for x, I have -1 times 2 to the -1. That just makes my graph negative 1/2. So negative 1, negative 1/2. If I plug in 0 for x, negative 1 times 2 to the 0 is going to make that negative 1. So there's my y-intercept. If I plug in x equals 1, negative 1 times 2 to the first is going to be negative 2. So 1 to the right, down 2, like so. And then last but not least, negative 1 times 2 squared drops down to negative 4. So 2 down to negative 4. Again, our asymptote line, since nothing's added or subtracted after that exponential term, it's still y equals 0. That's in the same spot. I'm going to draw that in. As I sketch my curve, I have to make it infinitely close to that line, that orange dashed line, but not cross over. So I'm going to kind of follow right along on that left-hand side. And then as I start to connect my dots, notice the graph drops down really quickly at the bottom. So the change in this graph from the parent function is it reflects over the x-axis. And now let's try one more where we do a little bit of a different transformation. Our final graph from the video, g of x equals 2 to the x plus 1 exponent. Notice we have a shift with our input value, x plus 1. X plus 1 means the graph is going to move to the left one. And that's going to impact our table. For our domain, though, doesn't do anything. X can still equal whatever it wants. So that's kind of nice. For our range, notice our notation, it's g of x. And also notice nothing's written after our exponential term. And our a value is positive. That means our domain is just going to be at 0 or increase from there. To make our table, we're going to recognize this shift 1 to the left. So watch what happens over here for my graph on the right. Remember how I said the graph will shift 1 unit to the left? So notice my start value here. I put everything 1 unit left of where it was originally. So instead of starting at negative 2, we're going to start at negative 3 and then increase by 1 each time. But watch how that changes our output value. If I plug in negative 3 plus 1, that just defaults me to 2 to the negative 2 power, which is 1/4. So now instead of just going to negative 2 and up 1/4, I'm going over to negative 3. As we continue on, plugging in negative 2, so I have 2 to the negative 2 plus 1, which just becomes 2 to the negative 1, and that's 1/2. So negative 2 to the left, up 1/2. So you're going to notice the shape of the graph is going to stay the same. If I plug in negative 1, that's 2 to the 0. So negative 1 up to 1. And then as I plug in 0, 0 plus 1 is 2. And last but not least, 2 to the 1 plus 1 is 2 squared, which is 4. So again, the shape of the graph stays exactly the same for now. We've just shifted 1 unit to the left. Your asymptote line isn't going to change because, again, nothing's written after that exponential term. So we draw that in, and we don't cross over it. Okay, there we go. And last but not least, let's sketch our curve. It follows that line infinitely close on the left-hand side and then starts to increase to the right exponentially. And there's the first 3 graphs for our exponential growth and decay functions.